It's showtime, folks.
Justin Lynch, Beoc Memes back for another video. Yeah, I don't think we have anything to discuss at this moment, do we? Yes, so yeah, funny story. I recorded a video earlier today, 2026 Blackhawks draft board, the fourth pick in the draft. And it turns out that was a complete waste of time. That was the most pointless video to ever be made. Because literally right after I finished that video and put it up on the tube, the Blackhawks have traded their fourth overall pick to the Buffalo Sabres in exchange for Bowen Byram. But that's not the complete trade. Blackhawks receive Bowen Byram, Jordan Greenway. Buffalo Sabres receive the fourth overall pick. Blackhawks 2026 second overall pick, which is 45th overall. In defenseman Louis Crevier. Oh boy. Kyle Davidson. Kyle Davidson. You know, I was just critiquing Davidson for being quiet, for sleeping this summer, for criticizing him for not being ready for the offseason getting underway. But I guess Davidson finally heard the noise. He has began the offseason. He has made a move. I'm thinking he may have been better for him just to stay asleep there. I'm thinking he should have just stayed on vacation because, oh boy. Oh boy. I mean, look, I like Bowen Byram. I think he's a very solid defenseman. Funny story, back in 2019, the year he was drafted, fourth overall by the Avalanche, he was the guy I wanted back in 2019. Stan Bowman selected Kirby Dach. I actually wanted Byram back in 2019. Of course, you know, that's not the route that Bowman decided to go. So yeah, I mean, 7 years later, Byram is a Blackhawk. Although this isn't quite the fashion I envisioned it. It isn't. I mean, initial thoughts on his trade. There's a lot of thoughts. I'm sure I'll have more time to gather them. These are sort of initial thoughts off the cuff. Dare I say this trade reminds me of a certain trade a few years ago. Dare I say it has shades of 2021. I'm thinking Stan Bowman, his last year as Blackhawks GM, he trades for Seth Jones and gives up picks and prospects in exchange for Seth Jones. That was also a sign-in trade. Of course, Jones had to be extended to an 8-year, $9.5 million contract, which, as we know, was the worst portion of that trade, right? Seth Jones, same thing at the time. Very solid defenseman. An overpayment, a massive overpayment. Bowen Byram's got 1 year left in his deal. He's going to have to be extended. He's going to have to be extended after this season. He could be extended as soon as now. He's eligible to be extended now. We'll see what happens there. And, well, I can only imagine what that contract looks like. I think that could make the Seth Jones contract pale by comparison. Bowen Byram, you know, both places he's played for in Colorado and Buffalo, he's sort of been, you know, buried in the rotation a bit in terms of defensive rotation. Colorado, of course, you know, behind Cale Makar, behind Devon Toews, and Buffalo behind Rasmus Dahlin, Owen Powers. So with Chicago, he will have a chance to be that number one defenseman that he thinks he is. He'll have a chance to kind of prove himself there. For the Blackhawks, they do add, I'm getting into the positives first because there's a lot of negatives. Let's get into the positives first. Blackhawks do add, you know, a solid top four defenseman to the rotation. Bowen Byram, you know, he hasn't quite proven himself as a number one yet. This could be a top pair defenseman. This could be a number one. I don't think he's there yet. I think right now he's more number three, number two. Could be a top pair defenseman. He will have that potential to Blackhawks. He is 25 years old, so he's not quite his prime yet. He's going to be entering his prime. He'll be 26 next year. So look, 2019 draft pick, same class as Alex Vlasic, right? So this is still a young defenseman who I think hasn't quite seen his best days yet. I think with the Blackhawks, he's going to get an extended look compared to what he got in both Colorado and Buffalo. For Buffalo, it makes sense why they moved him. I mean, between, you know, Rasmus Dahlin, Owen Power, you know, you could kind of see how Byram be on the chopping block there. When you already got two first overall pick defensemen, your blue line, it kind of makes Byram expendable. But yeah, for Buffalo, man, I mean, you get pick number 4. You get a second rounder and Crevier. So you got to think, I mean, what do they do with that pick? I mean, that's definitely, I could see them sort of using that to package and deal, maybe get their Alex Tuck replacement, right? I mean, because Alex Tuck still needs to be extended. It looks like it's a good chance he hits open market. Buffalo could use that fourth overall pick, you know, in a potential package to kind of acquire that replacement for him in the top 6. So we'll see what they do there. You have to think they probably use that to, you know, add another offensive weapon. But that's the Sabres. That's the Sabres. They also had Louis Crevier. Louis Crevier, arguably the Blackhawks' top defenseman last year. Yeah, I mean, look, the Blackhawks' young defense, they struggled last year. And I thought Louis Crevier on a back end that struggled mightily. They went through a lot of ups and downs, roller coaster season. I thought Louis Crevier was one of the few consistent defensemen on the season. I thought he was arguably the Blackhawks' best performer on the back end last year. Took tremendous strides in his game. 7th overall pick in 2020, and you know was proven to be a gem of a draft pick. And I thought he had a future here, man. The Blackhawks. I thought he had a future as a core defenseman here, but yeah, he's been shipped out. in addition to our fourth overall draft pick and a second, I could care less about the second. We have 3 seconds, so I think the fact that there's a second in this trade, like I don't mind that whatsoever. I think the Blackhawks already have 3 seconds in this draft, and I mentioned in a previous video that I think those picks are expendable, right? I mentioned I'd be down to packaging those picks in a trade. So he's done that. Not quite the way I envisioned it though, because the Blackhawks, they've traded their fourth overall pick. We finished bottom 2 this past year, 31st, and we will not be having a top pick in this draft. So yeah, I mean, in terms of that left side, because Byram is a left shot defenseman, you look at the Blackhawks left side now, you got Bowen Byram, you got Alex Vlasic, you got Wyatt Kaiser, you got Kevin Korchinski, you got Ethan Del Masho. So what happens there, right? Because that's 5 defensemen on your left side. And then Crevier's gone, so now we only have Artie and Renzel on the right side. So does Byram play him as offhand then? Do we play Byram on the right side, top pair right side? Then we have Artie, then we have Renzel, and then we got Vlasic, Kaiser, Korch, Del Masho on the left. I don't know what happens there because Byram is a natural left shot defenseman, but I mean, it might make more sense to play him on the right side if you can. I know he's a defenseman that has played on his right side a bit as well. I think he's one of those defensemen that's been interchangeable in his career, but he's definitely, it'd be profitable for him to be playing the left side because he is a left shot. So, yeah, I mean, I did mention in a previous video, I think that top left side for the Blackhawks was a big hole, and this would appear to potentially cover it. But at a steep price, man. Byram could be your top left shot defenseman of the future. It allows you to bump Vlasic down to a second pair role, which I do think is better off him, and allows you to bump Kaiser down as well. So between the left side of Byram, Vlasic, Kaiser, that could be a solid left side. But you got Artie Renzel on the right. But who fills in the Crevier role in the third pair, right? Who drops into that third right shot role? And then what happens to Korchinski and Del Masho? They're both RFAs, and you got to think that probably bumps one of them out. Probably Korchinski, because I don't think Korchinski, he's got to play at this stage of his career, right? So I don't see him being a seventh pair defenseman. I think that's more likely to be Del Masho's slot. So do we see a potential Korchinski trade down the line as well to follow this up? We'll see, right? Blackhawks do fill one of the, I did mention offseason video, one of the targets of the Blackhawks for me was a top 4, top pair, second pair defenseman. So we've achieved that, but there's still another target. I think that's a top 6, top line 4 for Bedard. And, it doesn't look like we're going to be getting that anytime soon. To be fair, I think the Blackhawks, a big reason why they thought they can move this pick is it didn't look like Stenberg was going to drop, right? San Jose Sharks made a trade. They traded William Eklund to Ottawa today in exchange for the 9th pick. So that pretty much guarantees that San Jose will be taking Stenberg with that pick, and then they'll probably take a defenseman at pick 9. So Stenberg wasn't going to drop to the Blackhawks at 4. So I guess with that thought in mind, with Davidson thinking, okay, Stenberg is not going to be there, that made this draft pick expendable. Fair enough, but you would think you would then use that pick to acquire the top 6 forward, top line forward in question, right? We thought that Stenberg could be there for Bedard. He could be Bedard's wingman in the future, but we haven't used in this pick to acquire Bedard's wingman. We've used it to acquire a defenseman that we probably could have just selected with that pick via either Carson Carroll's or Albert Schmidt's, preferably Carroll's. I think Carson Carroll's could have been your top pair left shot defenseman for the future. I mean, by all accounts, he looks like he could be the top defenseman in this draft class. Between him, Chase Reed, I think both those guys are potential top pair defensemen down the line. With that said, though, with Bowen Byram, you get a guy who could do it right now, right? Bowen Byram's a guy who could draw him right now and be that defenseman for you, whereas Carson Carroll's or wherever defenseman you took with that draft pick will probably be a few years down the line. So if Byram, you do get a guy who could do it right now, which to be fair is something I've been saying that Davidson needs to do. I guess I shouldn't be surprised that required overpayment to make it happen, right? And that's exactly what happened. I mean, this is by all accounts an overpayment. I think with Buffalo, you're laughing to the bank at this trade because you still got Darlene back there. You still got Power back there. And you added top 4 pick, which they could totally utilize. I mean, this and a mid-round pick and Louis Crevier, a solid defenseman to kind of fill that void back there as well. That's the thing. Louis Crevier, man, defenseman of so much promise. 6'8", 200-pound behemoth, bomb from the point, great PK specialist, great deep pair with Alex Vlasic, and he's gone now. Arguably our best D-man gone. So best of luck to Louis Crevier. I wish him nothing but the best in Buffalo. I will miss him. I thought he was amongst the biggest pleasant surprises, underrated defenseman players on the season for the Blackhawks this past year. So I will definitely miss Louis Crevier. Of course, Bowen Byram isn't the only part of this trade. We also acquired Jordan Greenway, which, to be fair, I did also outline in my targets. I thought the Hawks need some spunk, some physicality in their lineup, and Greenway does provide that. Bottom 6 forward. He's sort of, he played for a couple teams now, Minnesota and Buffalo. Yeah, but Greenway is a player, does provide a bit of that tenacity. He's a bottom six forward. He's 6'6", 231, so he's definitely got a bit of that, that side of his game to him. A player who can kind of get you those big hits, win board battles, provide some of that energy. He's a fourth line energy guy. He's a fourth line energy guy. I do think the Blackhawks, they did chip away a lot of their physicality, so Greenway does sort of plug a hole there. But at the same time, though, this is yet another, bottom six, depth forward. It's like, how many more depth forwards do we need? Like, how about a top line guy for Bedard? I mean, I think that's what we needed. I think that's the biggest target for this team, for me, is that top line four for Bedard. We still don't have that. I guess Davidson's going into next season thinking, okay, like, you're sort of banking on Cancer being that guy, right? Because we know Frundell and Nazar are going to be centers. We know it's going to be Bedard, Frundell, and Nazar is your 1, 2, 3 centers. That's Davidson said he's designed next year's team with that thought in mind. So your wings right now include Kancerov, they include Lardis, they include Bertuzzi, Tavo, Green, Moore, go down the list. So yeah, I mean, do you think that's enough for Bedsy, for Frundell, for Nazar? Is your centers, your 1, 2, 3 centers? Right now, I think there's not, the wing depth isn't there at this team. We got the center depth. The defense is, I guess figured out for now. We'll see how that pans out. It's still a very young decor. Byram is now your oldest defenseman. He's still only 25, so this is still a decor. Byram being 25, Vlasic 24, gonna be 25, Kaiser 23, 24. Renzel and Kevin both 2021, Domasho 21, 22, Artie 20. So it's still a very young defense, although Byram is a veteran compared to the rest of the defense, and back there he is a veteran. But yeah, in terms of the offense, it doesn't fill that need. We still haven't found Bedard's guy. Which you would think, if you're going to trade that pick, package that pick, that's sort of the area of the lineup that I thought Davidson would use. If you're going to trade pick number 4, I thought he would utilize it to acquire a top 6, top line 4, and then they could acquire that top 4 defenseman via other means. That's the way I saw it. That's the way I thought it was going to go down if Davidson were to move the pick. And yeah, that's not how it went down. That's not how it went down. So I mean, unless you plan on moving Frundell, Nazar to the wing to play with Bedard, that could be a possibility. Maybe you play Frundell and Cancer, Betsy. We'll see, and maybe that could be your top line. I don't know. Maybe Davidson changes his tune there. But yeah, the offense for me is still a big question mark, right? Like I think there's a big hole in the top of this lineup here that hasn't been filled yet. And I don't know. I don't think we go into another season with this uncertainty whether Bedard has his guy up there. How does this pan out for negotiations as well? We still got to extend him. We still got to extend Bedard, and how is his agent looking at this? I think his agent's probably licking his chops looking at this development. So, yeah, I wonder what that contract's going to look like. I think Bedsy, 15, 16, 17 million? Yeah, he'll get plenty. He'll get plenty. Hopefully it's a long-term deal. Hopefully it's not a 3-4 year deal. Hopefully it's a long-term contract that he signs. I don't know. After this, we'll see. I mean, Davidson's not exactly doing a ton to address the help for Bedard. He's not doing much to help him out, it must be said. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see, man. Look, I don't want to look. This is early days, right? We'll see. We'll see how this pans out. We'll see how this pans out. This is initial reactions. We'll see how it pans out. This does give me shades, though, of 2021. Stan Bowman, Seth Jones. It's a different situation. And to be fair, I do think Byram, let me make this clear. I do think Byram is a much better defenseman than Seth Jones. Let me make that very clear. I like Bowen Byram. I like Bowen Byram. I've always been a fan of his, but just for this, I don't know, man. I don't know. And there's still a massive hole in this lineup that hasn't been addressed. This hasn't addressed it. And are they going to address it? But at this point, we don't have the 4th pick to work with anymore. So how do we go about, if we're going to still target a top 6 forward, how do we go about doing that? As a free agency, do we go out and if Alex Tuch, if Buffalo Sabres forward Alex Tuch hits free agency, do we give him the bag? And is that your top line winger for Bedard? Could the Sabres help us out in both ways there, right? Maybe Tuch could be the guy in the top 6 for Bedard. Maybe that's the route they go. If Tuch does hit FA, do they make a trade for a top 6, top line forward? We'll see, because it's going to be a dry free agent class. So I'm not surprised that we saw a trade here. I am surprised that we saw a trade involving pick 4. When I first saw this, trade when I first saw this trade, break, I was surprised to see pick number 4 involved when the detail was released, because it's very rare you see a team move a top pick, top 4, top 5 pick. It's you don't see it happen very often. So I know there's a lot of buzz around that happened this year for the Blackhawks, and it has finally happened, but to say I'm surprised is an understatement. I really didn't. I didn't see it coming. But maybe with the reports of Stenberg probably going to San Jose, maybe I should have seen it coming, right? And if the Blackhawks thought, well, Stenberg is going to be off the board, McKenna's going to be off the board, Maholcher's probably going to be off the board. Either pick a defenseman in this draft at pick 4 that could be your top pair guy 3-4 years from now, or get him now. I understand. I sort of understand the logic. I think it's going to need some proving on the ice. I think Bowen Byram, yeah, like the pressure is going to be on. I mean, the pressure was on for Seth when he came here, and that pressure is going to be on for him. There's going to be high expectations here. He's got to be a number one defenseman. He's got to be a number one defenseman. Anything less than that isn't good enough. And yeah, especially depending on what that deal comes in at, we'll see if he signs it, prior to the season or if he signs it, after next season. Because yeah, we still got to sign the guy too after, because he's only got 1 year left in his deal. So we'll see what that contract looks like. But yeah, I mean, a lot to this is definitely a prove it year for Byram, right? He's got an opportunity. It's his third team. It's his first chance really to be a top pair number one guy. We'll see if he could do that. And yeah, I mean, look, it does take some of the pressure off some of these young guys, right? It does take some of the pressure off of Renzel. Already, I'm trying to cope right now. I'm trying my best to cope right now. Like, I'm having a hard time seeing the positives right now, but I'm really trying my best to cope and find some positives here. I'm having a hard time doing it. With Davidson, I think Davidson's putting a lot on the line here, man. He's putting a lot in the line here. I do think this does signal, though, with him, like, okay, like the rebuild's kind of over here. This is Davidson, I think, signaling it's time to start competing. It's time to start becoming more aggressive. So, on one hand, it's nice to see him get aggressive, but just this is not the way I saw it panning out. This is not the way I saw it playing out. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised, just based on the fact the Hawks are a rebuilding team. I shouldn't be surprised that this is what it took, to acquire, a piece like that. It was probably going to have to require, you overpaying, and that's exactly what happened. Hawks definitely had to overpay to make it happen, but we'll see, man. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how this helps out the defense and, Spencer Knight and net as well. We'll see what impact that has. I think the defense got better today, although they do lose Crevier. So how much better they got, who knows? They bring in Byram. Obviously, Byram's an upgrade over Crevier, but I thought Crevier was amongst our better defensemen last year, and he's gone. So, I mean, I think our defense gets better, but not that much better. And look, and what does it say, too, about the confidence level in these young defensemen, too, where it's like he felt the need to do this. Like, what does it say about Davidson's confidence level in the Renzels and the Arties, right? I mean, there's something to be said there, too. So, be interested to see how Byram's utilized as well. You got to think he's going to be your power play quarterback as well. So the Hawks, that was sort of a lineup hole, your power play quarterback. So Byram could be that guy for you. He could be your power play quarterback. He'll probably be your, he'll be on your PK as well. So he's going to play in all situations. He's going to play 25, 30 minutes a night. He's going to be the guy that probably gets the most ice time every night. So there's going to be a lot of responsibility placed in him. And I hope he does well, man. Look, I would love to be wrong, right? My initial prognosis is mostly negative. While I do think there are some positives here, for me right now, initial thoughts, there are more negatives than positives. I do hope Byram proves me wrong. I hope he becomes a top. I think that's the thing, though. Like, he has to be amongst the top defensemen in the NHL for this to be worth it. If Byram isn't a top 20, defenseman in the league, this isn't worth it, man. Because right now, I don't know if he is. Right now, he's probably, I don't know, 20, 30, something like that. That's even debatable. So, yeah, I think Byram, he's got to be amongst the best defensemen in the league for this deal to be worth it. Giving up a top 4 pick, giving up a promising piece in Louis Crevier, and a mid-round pick. Like, I think Byram's got to assert himself. He's got to become amongst the better defenders. And I'm not sure, man. Like, I like Byram. I think he's very good, but I don't see him being a Norris Trophy #1 defenseman guy. I mean, I'd love for him to prove me wrong there. He very well could be, but I think he's a ways away from that, right? He is a guy, too. He's had a bit of an up-and-down career. The past couple years in Buffalo, he's stabilized. He's played full 82-game seasons. He's been better. This past season, 11 goals, 31 assists, 42 points, 81 games. Was good in the playoffs for them as well. Season before, 38 points, 82 games. He's also a defenseman that's had some injuries, right? He's had some injury woes. So he's had a lot of seasons in Colorado that were cut short due to injury. I believe all 3 of his seasons in Colorado were impacted by injury. He was traded from Colorado to Buffalo in the 23-24 season, the deadline. I think he was a better fit in Buffalo compared to Colorado. He never really had that chance at Colorado. And yeah, he had a lot of bad luck of injuries. He was a part of that 2022 Stanley Cup winning team. So, hey, we got a defenseman with Cup winning experience. So there's something to be said there. He is a Stanley Cup champion. So something to be said there. Byram's a good defenseman. Is he great, though? I don't know. Right now, I think he's a very good defenseman, but he needs to be great. Byram needs to be great for this deal to be worth it. And just that's a question mark right now. And yeah, Greenway as well. I have less to say about Jordan Greenway, right? But, we'll see if he can, be a piece there in the bottom 6. But that's not enough. The Hawks still need to go out and add a top line, top 6-4. That's the next item on the agenda list for Davidson, right? He's clearly said, fuck up the draft. Enough of the draft. Like, I mean, to be fair, the last 4 years we've had top 3, top 4 picks. I think Davidson's kind of said, you know what, enough is enough of the draft. It's time to start making, big trades and signings to kind of push this team forward. So he's addressed the defense. Now I think he needs to address the offense. That's the next item on the agenda list. We're set in net. You're putting a lot of faith in that young decor and Bowen Byram to kind of right the ship back there. The next item for Davidson has to be addressing the offense. I will wait and see what he does there before I, write him off here. I mean, right now, this trade right now, to me, Buffalo is for right now is a clear winners right here. You can either get one of the top players in this draft, or you can use that draft pick, in a trade, to bolster your current squad. Because Buffalo, of course, they finally broke into the playoffs for the first time in 15 years this past year. They got a very bright future there, a very talented young core there. So that looks like a team that's going to be a problem for many years. I think they got better, so I think they're going to get better as well. So yeah, I think right now Buffalo are the winners of this trade. I think that's pretty clear right now, though. These trades, we have to wait and see how it develops, right? I mean, I think right now, there's probably some doom and gloom on my end. Right now, if I'm gonna be honest, I'm a guy as well who's defended Davidson a lot. I've more often than not defended Davidson. I've more often than not been on the pro KD side in terms of this fan base. It's been very split of Davidson. More often than not, I've defended him. I've been on his side. But this move is questionable for me. It's questionable. There's some skepticism on my end here. Yeah, I have my doubts, man. I have my doubts. But we'll see how it pans out. We'll see how Byram performs. But yeah, I think if there is a silver lining, I do think it signals that Davidson's we're done with stacking up draft picks and prospects here. Enough is enough with that. And now is the time to push forward, acquire those veteran pieces. And if you have to use, future assets, if you have to ship out future assets to make that happen, so be it. So yeah, I mean, look, NHL is a business. You have to be willing to make sacrifices. Davidson is making a few sacrifices here, but that's the way. If you want to ice a winning team, that's kind of the way you have to go about it. So it's a risk. It's a gamble. I think Davidson's putting a lot on the line here. I think this is definitely a trade that could be make or break for him. But if it pans out, he looks like a genius. If he doesn't, he looks like an idiot, and that could be it for him. So we'll see. I think, obviously he got that contract extension, upon conclusion of last year, he got that multi-year contract extension. So but at the same time, I do think this trade signals, even with him, I think he even realizes, I think that now's the time to kind of create the sense of urgency is higher now. The sense of urgency is higher here in Chicago. I think Davidson knows that he can't just sit on his hands anymore. He has to be aggressive and active from this point forward. So at least he's doing that. But I would have envisioned. I was hopeful for a trade that kind of got me going more than this one. I was so excited at first when I saw Byram from Elliot Friedman. The initial tweet, I got really excited, but then I saw the follow-up tweet from Frank Saravoli saying that was pick 4 and a pick and a prospect, and then that sort of my excitement meter sort of took a big dip after that, because that's a surprise for me. Like, I'm surprised it took pick 4 and a pick and a prospect. I would have thought pick 4 on its own would have been enough for Bowen Byram. Even in that case, I think Buffalo probably still have more value in that trade than us. I'm surprised it took pick 4 and Crevier and a second. Like, that's pretty wild to me. I mean, at least you don't give up a core player there. As much as I like Crevier, at least you're not giving up a Renzel or an Artie or a Kev. At least you're not giving up somebody like a Lardis, Moore, etc. I like Crevier a lot, but is he like that top tier core guy? I don't know, right? I do like Crevier a lot, but in terms of expendable young players, there's argument he could be one of them. Although I liked him a lot. I was always very high on Crevier, so there are other players I would have liked to have dealt before him, but that's the thing, though, man. This is a business. It's why you can't get too attached to these guys, man, because you just never know. You just never know what's going to happen, and yeah, you gotta be willing to sort of make those emotional sacrifices, in order to, potentially get a payoff. So this could be a move that pays off, right? I think today, right now, initial thoughts, not great, but this could be a trade that pays off, right? I do think Davidson might be overvaluing what Byram is. I think Davidson might be thinking he's a bit better than he really is, but we'll see. To be fair, Byram's going to get a chance in here in Chicago he didn't really get previously. So I think this will prove if Byram is that guy, right? He's going to have that chance to prove if he really is that guy. To be fair, he was a 4th overall draft pick. The Hawks are trading their 4th overall pick for a guy who was a 4th overall pick in Bowen Byram. And many scouts in that 2019 class, stated he could be a top pair, number 1 defenseman down the line. It hasn't happened for him yet. 7 years in his career, hasn't happened yet. This is his chance. Team number 3, this is kind of his last chance to kind of become that defenseman that he was drafted to be, that many scouts said he could be. So I think there's a lot. I think Byram's going to be plenty motivated. It's going to be a contract year for him as well. If he's not extended before the season starts, it's going to be a contract year as well. So I think he's going to have plenty to play for. So we'll see how he performs from that standpoint. I think I don't think he's going to be a player in Chicago with more pressure on him next year than Bowen Byram. I think fans are definitely similar to Seth Jones. I think expectations will be very high. We'll see who he plays with, right? We'll see who they pair him with. He could be a good piece for Lepshinov or Renzel, right? He could be a good piece, to sort of stabilize those young defensemen, right? I think both Renzel already were hoping they take those steps forward. It does put a lot of onus on them because right now they're, that's your right side right now. So it does put a bit of an onus on them, where you're kind of expecting those guys to take those steps forward and improve next season, right? It's also, putting a lot of emphasis on this offense as well. It's putting a lot of faith in Canstrad that he could be your top six guy. It's putting a lot of faith in Frundell becoming immediate top six player. It's putting a lot of faith in Bedsy that, maybe Bedard doesn't need that elite talent around him. Maybe he's a guy who can elevate his line mates. And maybe he doesn't need that top line winger. Maybe Bedard can do it on his own, sort of similar to what Celebrini has sort of done in San Jose. Although I do think Celebrini has more weapons to work with compared to, compared to Bedard, I would argue. So I don't think Bedard's had that same level of support around him, and he still doesn't. So yeah, I mean, I think with the Sharks right now, they're going to be getting, most likely they're going to be adding Stenberg to the fold. That already includes Celebrini, Misa, Smith, and the Blackhawks for me. Yeah, it's still not clear who that guy is for Bedard. It could be Frundell, it could be Kantchev, we don't know. It could be Nazer, I don't know. So yeah, there's a lot of question marks. And right now, yeah, we will wait to see the answers, right? We'll wait to see how this development plays out. I think that's probably all I got for now. There's a lot more to look forward to, right? I guess we don't really have to look forward to the draft anymore because we don't have a first rounder. We have 2 seconds, and then we have some later picks as well. But yeah, we only have what 6, 7 first. We only have 6, 7 draft picks now, and no first rounder. Instead of 3 seconds, we have 2. I think we have 1 third rounder and then a couple of picks later. So the draft suddenly doesn't look that important unless Davidson makes, additional trades in that regard. It doesn't look like we'll be really paying attention to this draft much. So yeah, but there's still a lot to look forward to in terms of, free agency July 1st. So you got to think, I can't imagine this is it. I do think Davidson probably will keep working the phones. I got to think there's probably a follow-up trade in store or a follow-up move. I do think he has to address the offense. He has to address the top 6. He's got to get a guy for Bedsy, Frundell. He's got to get a winger. This team's got the center depth, the defense. This team needs wingers. This team desperately needs wingers. I hope Davidson goes out and acquires that type of piece. But we'll see, man. It does feel like with him, he thought the defense was the greater priority to address. And to be fair, we kind of saw it coming. Ben Pope did state, earlier on this month that Davidson was targeting a top 4 defenseman. We did hear reports that the 4th pick was available. So I guess we shouldn't be surprised that this is what it led to. So we'll see at Byram, man. We'll see at Byram. I wish him nothing but the best. I hope he pans out here. But man, it does feel like a lot. This rebuild, a lot hinges on this trade in terms of this rebuild panning out, in terms of this rebuild going the distance, in terms of this rebuild panning out as expected. If this team isn't a playoff team next year after this trade, and especially you got to think there's going to be more moves to follow up this summer for Davidson, right? And if this team isn't taking that step forward, if this team isn't winning more games, getting accruing more points, if this team isn't a playoff contending team next year after this trade, I think there's going to have to be serious question marks in terms of where this rebuild's at, where this team is going. Because that's the thing. I think there's a lot of uncertainty right now, right? I think there's more certainty if certain teams like San Jose, like Anaheim, Montreal, Buffalo. Those teams are trending in the right direction. This team right here, it's a question mark, man. I think a lot hinges on next season. I think next season is the most important season of this rebuild. I think the summer is obviously the most important summer, and long way to go. There's a long way to go. It's still June. That's the thing. We're still in the early days of this offseason, so there's a long way to go until next season. This roster could still look quite a bit different, but yeah, I wouldn't say it's quite been the start of the summer that I was hoping for. I think there's a lot of skepticism on my end, but I'm willing to at least see it out and see how it plays out. But I do think with Davidson, he's definitely putting his job on the line. It feels like with this move, so it could turn out great for him. Maybe this is what we needed. I don't know. Maybe this is the move we needed. But for me, I thought there were greater areas of the lineup and priorities to address. Beyond this one, this wasn't the number one. This wasn't the number one area to address for me. I thought the top 6 forward, top line forward addition was higher the priority list for me than the defense, since especially after all the picks we made back there over the years and passing up Bedard's wingmen in past drafts. I think this is a questionable decision, but yeah, we'll see how it pans out, right? Look, we're gonna have plenty more thoughts on that. These are my initial thoughts. It's late here. I want to get this video up at a respectable time. We'll see if I leave up my draft video. It's kind of pointless now. Maybe I leave it up for shits and giggles, but yeah, we'll see, man. And I hope you like my hat, by the way. Yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling right now in terms of just where things are at, in terms of the vibe. So we'll see, though. We'll see. But yeah, we'll have more to say about it. We'll have more to say about this trade as it develops and as I simmer down to. Remember, these are initial thoughts as well. So give me the pat on the back there. It's been a long day. Definitely phones been blowing up with this trade. So a lot of messages, a lot of people to get back to, and I kind of got to take some time, I think, to process this. And I'll give further thoughts, as the days develop here. I'm sure my thoughts as this trade is sort of as we've had time to digest this trade will be different as opposed to my initial thoughts right after it happens. So give me some benefit of the doubt there. If this isn't my best video, best analysis, that's why I'm in a bit of an emotional state right now. A lot invested in this team, so just some question marks, some nerves. There's a lot of nerves. I think there's a lot of nerves in terms I want to see this pan out. I want to see this rebuild play out. I want to see us get there, but I don't know if it's gonna happen, right? I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see. I think with Davidson, yeah, I think if opinions weren't already shifting, I think they'll continue to shift. And yeah, I think with him, this fan base, I think if the temperature wasn't rising and boiling, I think it will continue to do so at this point. And well, man, I hope we at least get that Bedard extension done soon. At the very least, please get that Bedard extension done soon. If that keeps if we have to keep waiting on that, then well, yeah, I don't think yeah, that's not going to be too good for the mental state of his fan base. And yeah, I think I might have to go back to therapy. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's all I got for this one. Thank you all so much for watching this video. This is Justin Lynch, Beyond Memes out. And if you like the video, feel free to like it, subscribe to the channel if you want more content. And yeah, like the video on YouTube, help it reach more traction. All right, that's all I got for this one. Justin Lynch, Beyond Memes out. And we'll see you on the next one, baby. This has been a day of all time, man. Boop.